Welcome back. Since the very beginning of the COVID-19 response, health officials have lamented the lack of compliance to home quarantine requirements. There have been steady reports of people violating home quarantine and venturing into public spaces. The Ministry of Health says it will soon employ the use of electronic monitoring devices to ensure compliance. Earlier in October, St. Lucia updated its COVID-19 quarantine policy. It was announced that 14-day home quarantine will apply strictly to minors, people with health conditions, and those with other specific conditions. It was also announced that individuals will be required to wear electronic monitoring devices. Returning nationals in state quarantine facilities will be tested on the 7th day, and those who receive a negative result and meet the criteria for home quarantine would be granted permission to do so with the wearing of the electronic monitoring device at a one-time cost of EC $260. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar George says already the technology has had a successful test run and an order has been made to get the monitoring devices imported into St. Lucia.
We will be using a watch for the Amber Group, which would allow us to track persons during the period of quarantine at home, that is the 14-day period. We have already signed all of the legal agreements with them and they've already been ordered. So we are just waiting for them to come in.
It has become necessary for the Ministry of Health to monitor the movements of people who are on home quarantine following several violations of the parameters guiding the confinement of people who are supposed to remain at home. The CMO assures that the monitoring, however, will not be overly intrusive.
Home quarantine has been a really big challenge for us. Clearly, we don't have the capacity, the human resource capacity, or the security capacity to monitor everyone within their homes in all of the communities in St. Lucia. And generally, our population has not been as adherent as they should be. The tracking device, it picks up your movement through a biofence. It does not take voices. It does not take cameras. It only alerts us if you violate that biofence, which is based on the size of your home or property.
The Amber Solution watch with its BioIntel Sense sticker will also monitor an individual's vital signs. The government of St. Lucia has been utilizing an enhanced country poverty assessment toolkit to help take the guesswork out of determining which families require social protection benefits under the new targeted approach to economic support. It has been used to design a survey of living conditions, household budget survey, from which data was extrapolated to inform a national eligibility test, making the identification of vulnerable communities and individuals more scientific. Chief Economist Janae Leos revealed that based on the data retrieved, the government has moved to expand the poverty list to include 1,000 more households as part of an economic resilience and recovery strategy.
What we have done is to recognize that the poverty list is a great starting point in terms of providing targeted relief. And that is why you have seen efforts to actually expand the number of households on that by an additional 1,000. As time goes on, we would see whether there may be even calls to expand that further. But the approach has definitely been where we have existing systems that determine whether somebody is poor, is indigent, or what have you, that we focus the efforts there and we strengthen those the level of support that is received there.
The list will be reviewed at a 3-month interval to determine if further expansion is necessary. The Police Welfare Association is calling on relevant authorities to test frontline workers more often, police officers in particular, as they are now tasked with ensuring that the public complies with COVID-19 protocols, such as the wearing of a mask in public.
The current spike in COVID-19 cases have spurred an urgent call for everyone to take personal responsibility to protect themselves from the virus. Police officers have now been tasked with ensuring that the general public adheres to the set protocol, particularly the wearing of masks in public. President of the Police Welfare Association, Travis Chico, says this should signal to authorities that frequent testing of frontline personnel is a necessity.
We as a Welfare Association believe that there should be a mass testing of police officers because some members may be asymptomatic and it is very important that we know the status of our police officers. I believe that as it pertains to the COVID, that the necessary PPEs must be continued given to police officers, but it is also important that we as police officers continue to comply with the necessary protocols, because if the police becomes compromised, then we shall see trouble within the sphere of national security.
As the number of cases increase on island, Chico says a contingency plan needs to be put in place for officers of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force.
It is very important the moving forward, how we address some of those key concerns, ensuring that we do not compromise the police, because once the police is compromised, we should see a lot of issues in terms of being able to enforce the laws and whatnot. So we want to ensure that our police officers practice every COVID safety, every protocol is observed, and that we can remain in this fight for the long run.
He says while officers have been tasked with preserving, protecting and enforcing the laws, they need to ensure that they do not put themselves at risk in the name of upholding the law.
That I want to encourage police officers that if they do not have the necessary protective equipment, that they should not go to persons who they suspect may have either entered illegally or legally, or who have the symptoms of COVID. So our members need to follow every protocol. We need to understand that we are not immune to this infectious disease, and we must understand that flattening the curve is the most important thing as we take on the dreaded battle of the COVID-19.
Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
Thank you, Janice. Stay with us. There's more after the break.